You want to know how to program and mix basses that are cool, modern, and realistic and sound something like this?
I can overcome my demons. I can push them down below. And when I'm starting to believe them, they hit the ground like dominoes, yeah.
Well, in this video, I'm going to show you all the secrets and all the moves of how you can do just that. Well, if you're new to the channel, thanks so much for stopping by. My name's Christian Hale. I'm a Billboard charting producer-songwriter right here in Nashville, Tennessee. On this channel, I'm here to help you do two things: elevate the quality of your music, and if you so desire, make more money from your music. So without any further ado, let's get into this video and start showing you all the hacks and all the secrets to programming and mixing better basses. All right, let's start by having a listen to the verse chorus of the song we're going to be looking at today. It's a song by one of my artist projects, Outskirts, called Demons. You can actually go listen to it everywhere you hear music, but here's a little snippet of what we're going to be working with.
Telling me that I was broken and my life was hopeless. So I told myself I'm never gonna give up. No matter how long it takes, I'm steady like a river. Now nothing gonna make me break, 'cause I can overcome my demons. I can push them down below. And when I'm starting to believe them, they hit the ground like dominoes, yeah. Every time they tell those lies, I can overcome my demons, demons. And down, down, down they go. Oh, oh, oh. Down, down, down they go. Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, so I think from a bass standpoint specifically, since that's what we're talking about here, I think it sounds really good. For one, I'm not nearly a good enough bass player to actually sit down and play anything that tight, anything that funky, or probably with any tone that good, because let's be real, I kind of suck at bass. But we have the tools at our disposal, and I'm about to break those down for you to where you don't have to be a good bass player. You just have to be a producer with a little bit of editing ability, a little bit of skill in the computer, and a little bit of mix knowledge to be able to get that sound. So let me start showing you how you can go about getting that sound. So for starters, as you can see, we are working with a software instrument, a Midi bass. It's not a real bass. And let me go ahead and bypass all of the plugins we are working with here and just go to the stock instrument I started with, which for me is this Teletone Audio Retrograde bass. I'm using the Basics preset. I also use this A Nice Place to Start preset quite a bit when I get into this, and I have no affiliation with this plugin, with Teletone, with any of the plugins I'm about to be showing you as the time of filming this. I'm just keeping it real for you guys and showing you things I like and I think that might be beneficial to you guys. And if that's cool for keeping it real, give this video a thumbs up, like, subscribe, comment, do all the things you already know what to do. But here's what that bass sounds like in solo without any of the mix plugins, just with this Teletone bass. Yeah, I mean, super good, super usable bass sound right there. And I actually have duplicated the track out. And as far as how I actually played that, I just on my MIDI keyboard right here came up with the bass line, played it into Pro Tools, got it close enough, and then just quantized it. So to quantize it, and I think I quantized it 100% to the grid. If we zoom in and look here, yeah, I think so. If I open up the event operations, yeah, we have 52% swing on this song, and I think I quantized it to the 16th note here. Sometimes if I want to preserve a little bit of human feel in a situation like this, I may not quantize it to 100% strength, but it looks like I did in this song just with that 52% swing engaged. So I just played in the bass like that, quantize it in Pro Tools. If you're using Logic or Ableton or, you know, pretty much any other DAW out there, you can quantize. A lot of people would say the other DAWs are better at quantizing and editing MIDI than Pro Tools, but you can definitely still get it done in Pro Tools. But just started with a good source bass. Again, this Teletone Audio. Sounds great out the jump. Let me show you a couple other presets or bass sounds you can use. Like I said, I love this A Nice Place to Start. I use this probably most of any of the Teletone presets in the retrograde bass. Super great stock bass sound right there. But this is a third-party plugin in Contact. I don't know off the top of my head how much it costs. Maybe like 50, 100, maybe 150 on the high end. It's nothing crazy, but if you don't want to run out and buy that, another bass I use quite a bit for this same thing is the Native Instruments Contact Scarabee the MM bass, the Mark bass, and it sounds like this with no plugins on. Little bit of a different tone. There's a little bit more low end and lower mid range just sort of in the jump there. So from an EQ standpoint, like if you want the exact sound and some of the attack and drive that the Teletone bass has built into it, if you're using this Native Instruments Contact bass, you might have to go address some of that, but like super good stock bass sound. And I tend to, for these funkier bass lines over here on the player profile, I think it defaults at pop and country. I'll go down to soul and funk or rock and retro, usually the soul and funk. I think it just gives a little bit more of that attack, funky kind of thing. And then, like I said, you might want to run it through like a Sans amp or a little bit of drive, that kind of thing, before the mix plugin. So those are a couple of the tools that I will use to actually program basses. I know a lot of people out there use the Spectrasonics Trillion. That's the sound of the Charlie Puth Attention bass, which was all the rage, I don't know, however many years ago. I don't actually have Trillion, but I have heard it. It sounds amazing. There's lots of cheap and free bass plugins out there at our disposal now. You know, you can kind of take anything with a good enough stock sound, program it in like I just showed you how, and then with some of the mix techniques I'm about to start breaking down for you, get it to sit exactly how you need it to. I will mention that the Native Instruments bass also isn't free, but it's either really cheap or it comes free with pretty much any Native Instruments Contact instrument bundle. It's an old kind of classic at this point, but again, for the purposes of this song, in this video, we are rolling with the retrograde bass. Let me show you what this sounds like in the context of the mix without any of the plugins. You can see I have the 6 plugins that made it into the final mix bypassed here. And you can kind of hear, having heard it with the plugins engaged, kind of start to hear it without any of the plugins on it in context.
I used to be the weak kid, meek kid, staying home alone on the weekend, never thinking I was worthy, worried they would
Not
hurt
adding the
me.
plugins.
I started hearing voices, noises, all up in my head, kind of poison, telling me that I was broken and my life was hopeless. So I told myself I'm never gonna give up, no matter how long it takes. I'm steady like a river, now nothing gonna make me break.
Yeah, so I think you can hear pretty clearly when I take the plugins away, a lot of just like the good sauce, the good juju happening, especially like fattening out some of the low end, but as well as some saturation, distortion, attack, like good mix sauce, general things that I'm about to break down for you. It kind of goes away and it's sort of like, where'd the bass go? And again, I don't think it's just level. Like we could turn up the volume a little bit, but I still think there's some of that excitement, some of the EQ low end sort of things that I think we might miss. So let me start breaking down for you what some of the mix sauce plugins are on this song. And the really good thing about this is whether you're mixing a real bass guitar or you're programming a bass kind of like this, a lot of these same concepts apply. I would go about mixing a real bass really similarly to how I mix the bass here. In fact, I think what I did is I took a bass mix starting point that I had for a real live bass guitar and then just kind of tweaked it to the song from here. So what I first have going on is this Acoustica Ruby 2. It's an emulation of the DW Firm VT5. I love this tube EQ so much. I use it on my mix bus. I have a video breaking down my mix bus. You can find that link down in the description below. I use this a lot on my mix bus. You can see it made its way onto my mix bus here doing this. This isn't about mix buses, but I put my money where my mouth is. This does a really expensive, cool tube saturation, low end thing. Pushing 40 hertz, but it's really just like a super broad stroke EQ with a warm tube saturation color that I really like. Here's what that sounds like. We'll start without it and then add in the Ruby.
I used to be the weak.
Adding it. Yeah, all good things. You can just kind of start to hear the low end present itself a little bit. From there, we go to this Tony Maserati B72 plugin, and this is also adding some low end. You'll hear it when I start to play it, but I love this Maserati B72 plugin. What I'll say about Waves plugins in general is one of the things that I think they get most right are their bass plugins. I think the Maserati bass as well as the CLA bass can kind of just take your basses if there's no other plugins, if they're completely unmixed or you're tweaking software MIDI like this. Like whatever they have going on in these multi-legacy mixer bass plugins specifically does such good stuff to your basses. I know a lot of big mixers and producers here in Nashville that just swear by CLA bass, like that's the only thing on their basses. And I think the Maserati bass, the B72, is really good for more of this style right here. It's adding low end. I really don't even know what all it's adding here. I think this is just a tweaked version of the default preset. Really good presets through this thing. I usually just scroll through them until I find one that I think sounds good and tweak it a little bit to taste. But here is, we'll start without the B72 and then add it in. Adding it. And then let me take away the Ruby and the B72 so you can hear really how much low end is getting added with the tandem of those two plugins. Yeah, doing a really good thing to just kind of fatten out that low end. And in a song like this, like I wouldn't always add that excessive amount of low end, but the kick drum in this song is more of an upper mid-range attacky kick drum. And from an arrangement standpoint, since I did write, produce, and mix this song, I had kind of a lot of say in the whole process here. Really, from an arrangement standpoint, the bass, this bass guitar from the verse, the pre-chorus, and the chorus was the one thing kind of fattening out and filling out that low end. It wasn't a bunch of, like drivey, heavy sub synth basses or super fat kick drums. It really was a smaller, attackier kick drum. So we had a little bit more liberty, I thought, from an arrangement and mix standpoint to add some of that low end into the bass guitar and kind of just let that carry our song here. From there, we go into this FabFilter Pro Q3, and honestly, I don't really know how I arrived here. I would say this is a testament of don't EQ with your eyes, EQ with your ears. Like I clearly wanted to add a little bit of the 2K attack back in. Probably like shot myself in the foot by adding in too much stuff here and made some cuts. And it looks like a lot of stuff's going on, but like this is a half a dB minus 1 dB moves at 500 hertz, at 200 hertz, and then I don't know, something was happening here. Let's start with that Pro Q off and then add it in to see what the heck it was even doing. Adding it. Yeah, it kind of cleans up probably a little bit of the stuff we added in, but then really, to me, the big thing this is doing is this kind of 2 dB boost around 2K that gives us that nice sort of pick attack, finger attack. If you're working with a bass and you want that attackier sound to go down, I find in a lot of basses it's usually around 2K, and if you want a little bit more of that attack, you can boost 2K. So be aware of that 2K frequency range when you're working with basses, especially with the attack. If you want more, if you want less, boost 2K, cut 2K. So on and so forth. From there, we go to a good old faithful Waves CLA 3A. It's been around a bajillion years at this point, and it still works, right? Just doing LA2A compression things. We all know what the LA2A does. It's good on pretty much everything, and I love it on bass too. Using Waves CLA 3A here, we'll start with it off, then add it in. And who doesn't love some compression on a bass? Sounds great. Follow that up with a little bit of soothe, and this is another case of using your ears, not your eyes. Like I did this song several months ago now, and I really don't remember why I made some of these decisions I did, but I think it was just a matter of tweaking things, adding something, taking away something, messing with the sound until it felt right in the mix and sounded good. I wasn't really following any rules here because I don't know if there would be a rule that says you should add this much soothe to your bass around 2K. And, I'm an idiot over here. Boosted 2K and then cut 2K, but didn't really cut 2K. It's probably that I wanted that, but I just wanted it reduced a little bit with soothe. Here's what it sounds like with soothe off, and then we'll add it in to hear what it's doing together. Add it in. I'm curious what happens if I bypass both the Pro Q and the soothe. Adam. Yeah, to my ear, the Pro Q is cleaning things up and definitely adding that attack. And then to me, the soothe is just taming that attack a little bit, but from like a broad stroke, more musical kind of way instead of just like surgical EQ. I love Soothe. I use Soothe on everything. Guitars, vocals, basses, like Soothe's an amazing tool. Couldn't live without it. Love what that does. And then ended that with a little bit of subtle drive and distortion. Looks like I went with the Sound Toys Devil Lock, but as you can see, I have the Waves Manny Marroquin distortion. It was inactive on bypass. I'll use this a lot for bass. This can be a little bit of a bulldog on bass, but really great when it is the thing you need. So if you're wanting to mess around with some distorted basses, try the Manny Marroquin, but I went with the Devil Lock, probably a little more subtle, and we'll start with it off and then add it in. It sounds something like this. Add it in. Yeah, really subtle, little bit of distortion, but you know, I don't know how to make the Manny M sound that subtle. That's why I probably went with that. But now that you've kind of seen the chain, let's go one plugin at a time. We'll take everything off in solo, then we'll do one last listen in the context of the track. Here's everything off, add it in, one plugin at a time. Ruby. Maserati. Pro Q. CLA. Soothe. Devil Lock. So there it is. Those are some strategies you can use to program basses that sound really cool and modern and realistic in your tracks, as well as some techniques and strategies that you can use to mix both real basses and program basses. Let's have one more listen to hear what this song sounds like in its final finished context.
Never gonna give up, no matter how long it takes. I'm steady like a river. Now nothing gonna make